zippermagazine.com.
Hi, I'm Domme Tomorrow. My pronouns are she, her. I am a dom specializing in largely POV femdom clips on Clips for Sale, but I do have some clips that I filmed with my local subs. In my real, everyday, non-dom life, I love karaoke way too much. I love my cats way too much. Gardening. I just got some sprouts growing in my yard, some watermelons and pumpkins, and I'm very thrilled. Roleplay is one of my favorite kinks because it's the icing on top of kink play. You can take just about any kink and throw in a little bit of roleplay, and all of a sudden you have yourself a theatrical, cathartic experience. It's the icing. It's the yummy part. The types of roleplay that I enjoy are mommy dom or evil stepmother. I love to do a little femme fatale, just a nasty, tricksy woman that's bent on destroying you. I like to do some classic villainesses. I have a client who's a Cruella de Vil fetishist who sent me a bunch of Cruella de Vil outfits, so we'll talk back and forth, and I will be Cruella de Vil. I've done some Catwoman. I have plans to do some Poison Ivy in the future. I also love to do conniving coworker, very brutal boss, mean, strict teacher that you have to impress, giantess, where I am a giant woman and you're just a tiny, helpless little bug. Oh, and witch putting you under a spell or transforming you in some way. These are definitely my favorites, and I get them quite often. Oh, and one more, cuckoldress. Either tricksy ex-girlfriend or current girlfriend or wife who is just cuckolding you. Oh, it brings me joy. When I'm in character, I feel powerful, period, full stop. And I love doing these evil, mean, manipulative characters because, I mean, okay, look at me, right? I'm giving suburban mom a little bit of Mary Poppins. So I like to take the stereotype that you may have about me in your head and flip it. So I like to take maternal characters and make them mean and nasty because it messes with your Madonna whore complex. I like to take characters that you should feel safe with and comfortable with and make you scared for your life. Because the emotional roller coaster is part of the deliciousness of the scene. The strangest role play that I've ever done has to be Car Wash Guy. It wasn't terribly sexual, it wasn't terribly mean, but it was just so different. A client came into a webcam session and said, I have a very strange role play fetish. Let me run this by you. He says, I have a very, very expensive car, and you are my girlfriend who does not give a shit about this expensive car. So you take it through just a normal car wash all the time, and it drives me crazy because it's supposed to be hand washed. So can you play my manipulative girlfriend who keeps taking my very expensive car through the car wash? And you don't care, and you just keep making fun of me for caring so much. So we went back and forth for a good half an hour. He would say, oh no, did you take my car in today? And I said, yes, I did. I took it through the car wash. I let the bristles hit it and everything. He says, no, not the bristles. And I said, yes. What's the big deal? It's just a car. I'm not going to wash it. He says, it needs to be hand washed. I said, do you think I'm going to hand wash your car? I'm going to take it through the car wash. It's just easier. He says, don't tell me you use the wax. I said, I got the cheap hot wax sprayed all over it. And he's like, no. And it was so fun. I still think about it all the time. Not sexual at all, just emotionally sadistic. 10 out of 10. Why are role plays not always sexual? A lot of clients will give me their backstory on why they have their kink, and sometimes it can be from past trauma, maybe past bullying in high school or an event that happened that really left an impression on them. They can't let it go and they want to replay it. But subs are not a monolith. Kinksters are not a monolith. So the reasons why is still such a great unknown for me. And I don't dwell there too much because I can run so many different reasons. But I will say that non-sexual kinks role plays are very common, and I get them quite often. I think that's because it's such an emotional extreme to be humiliated, to take something that you care a lot about, like your car, and have someone not care about it at all it can bring up that emotional pain. And in BDSM and kink, we're very familiar with physical pain being the driver of the scene, and we really have come around to understanding why people may want to experience physical pain. But just like that, people want to experience emotional pain. And so while it may not feel sexual to you, it is painful, and the pain in and of itself is sexualized for a lot of people. Why is role play sometimes better online or over the phone even than in person? I would say that's because you get to suspend disbelief. There's a little bit of theater that comes in here, especially for something like giantess play. In person, I can't experiment with my actual physical size, and neither can you. As much as I'd love to shrink you down to the size of the ant, nobody has invented a shrink ray for me yet. And that is a problem. So online, I can tell you, or on the phone, I can tell you, you are this small. I can tell you how I'm going to shrink you down. And your mind is full of possibility. You can paint a scene in your head that has way more detail than anything I could try to create in person. Also, through video, I've got green screen magic. I've got editing magic. So if you want to take a role play to a specific place, I could take you on top of a mountain. I could take you to a dark, dark dungeon. I could take you to a classroom. And it is much easier to buy in to the fantasy when it looks so real in a video through the magic of special effects. Or if you're closing your eyes, you're in a room by yourself, and we are scene painting with words, you can flesh it out so much more than if I were to bring you over to my dungeon. I try to make it look like a desert island or a beauty shop. There's so much that you can do with less. Giantess fetish is one of my favorite ways to play online. I can do so many tricks with the camera. I can put the camera down on the ground, angling up at me so I look giant. And the POV from the camera, you can get lost in my shag carpet. I can hold you in the palm of my hand and make you feel like you're very, very small, like I'm carrying you. And when you make clips, you can get little tiny people like this, and you can use them as the tiny person that you're talking to if you need to direct your focus. Do they look terribly real in a clip? Not exactly, but this is theater, and it doesn't take much for a giantess fetishist to see this and imagine that they are the tiny person. Imagine that I will pick them up and maybe put them in my mouth or put them in a very compromising position. And why do people like giantess fetish? In BDSM play, you'll have one person with a lot of power and one person with not very much power at all. And how insignificant and helpless can you feel if you are nothing but a tiny, tiny, tiny little person in the hand of a super giant and possibly sadistic woman? The helplessness, you can't get away. And that is that feeling a lot of kinksters are looking for, where they're just being taken advantage of and they're so helpless they can't do anything about it. It's just, well, so obvious because of the size difference. And why do I like it? I didn't even know about giantess fetish until I started doing femdom and professional dom work. And when I found out about this, I thought this was one of the most fun, theatrical, hilarious things I could ever think of. There's so many funny things you can do with a tiny, tiny person. And I've started taking these and putting these tiny people all over my house. I have them in plants. I have them sitting on top of little things because it's so fun to think about. I mean, what if I had a whole little What if I had a whole little colony living in tiny houses in my houseplants? I think that I would be very good to them. I would take care of them so well. So when I started diving into kink and fetish really full force head on, and it was a part of my life every day, I discovered so many ways in which I just had been making myself smaller and less than in my everyday life to make other people feel more comfortable, basically. And when I finally got to step into my full self and I couldn't be too big, I couldn't be too mean, I couldn't be too nasty, and I had to pump up that part of myself, it felt so freeing. I don't know if you're one of those women who's been told that you're too much and you need to be less and you need to be quieter and you need to be less opinionated and less powerful and less controlling. Like me. But when you step into this and you're taking on that Dom role, suddenly all of that bullshit just falls away and you get to really be your full powerhouse self. No apologies, take no shit, and it feels so good. Another aspect of my personality that I found out about doing this job was, yes, I'm definitely a cuckoldress. Yes, my love of cutting people's hair was a little more sadistic than I really fully realized. I mean, I had been freelance cutting people's hair for so long, and then when I started doing this job and someone asked me to do a haircut fetish custom clip, I said, that's a thing? And then I thought back to all the times that I've cut people's hair and this feeling that I get when I'm just snipping it off. Like, I'm in control. I could make you look so stupid. I could really take control of your whole look and leave you crying, but I won't. But that being said, I'm still looking to cut someone a tonsure. That monk haircut where you just have a bald spot in the back of your head and it's just like a neat line all the way around. Dream haircut fetish. Reach out to me if you want it, please, because, oh, that would make my life. Going into the real world after diving into kink and fetish and stepping into my full Dom self, I definitely noticed carrying more power, not saying I'm sorry, saying thank you instead. So if you're running late, you don't say, I'm so sorry, I was running late, please forgive me. You just say thank you so much for waiting for me, you're so wonderful. Just different ways to carry your power where you're never apologizing for yourself, you are confident, and I'm also more aware of how many more submissive and switchy people there are in the world, because when I'm carrying myself like a Dom queen, I definitely notice other people in the world showing their subby side a little bit, giving me those eyes, which I never really noticed before. If you're doing role play for the first time, or maybe you've done it before and it felt weird and you felt giggly, that's totally okay. Maybe roll back a little bit, take the pressure off yourself. You don't have to get lost in the details. You can decide, I'm going to be teacher, you're going to be student, call me Mrs. whatever, and I'll call you this. And you can start just with names and just inserting the names during your play. You don't have to get hung up on dialogue, because sometimes too much dialogue, too much backstory, you can get caught up in the details and lose sight of what's happening between you two. Even if the giggles happen, which it still happens to me sometimes. I have a partner with a role play fetish, and we did a doctor thing the other day, and I got the giggles so bad. But what's helpful is if the other person that's in the scene with you can keep a straight face and go, are you ready for the examination now? And then you can collect yourself and just be like, yes, I'm just nervous. I'm just laughing because I'm nervous. So it takes a commitment, you know. You're going to commit in the beginning. We're going to see this through. You're this person. I'm this person. Let's just try it and see how it goes. And the more you do it, the easier that it gets, and you feel less silly as time goes on. But it definitely helps if you have one person that's a little bit more serious than you are to keep you in the right space. The kink and fetish misconception that I think needs to die is that all Doms wear latex. I do not. I feel like I'm trapped in a balloon when I wear it. I'm a lace and a satin and a soft things kind of dom. We exist. I think the most underrated kink are Victorian scenes. I'm growing my hair out to be so incredibly long so I can do a ladies' maid Victorian scene in which I have my ladies' maid brushing my hair and I yell at her. Okay, Victorian scenes are rare. Where are they? I don't know, but I want them. I want some period themed fetish. The kink that I think is overrated, needles. The needle play. Where you just like make designs with needles. But that's also because I'm trying to imagine poking a needle through someone's skin, and I think that's where you lose me. The blood, the needles, I can't. So that's personal. Someone's definitely gonna disagree with me for sure, but that's just because I can't handle it. My most popular clip is slicing wieners. I took a bunch of hot dogs and a hot dog slicer, and I cut them up, and I said some very cruel things about my desires. Just cut them up. And what's funny about that clip is that I really sliced my own finger, like right at the beginning of the clip. I sliced my first wiener and I got a huge cut in my thumb and it was bleeding through the rest of the clip. But I hit it so well. Why do I think that's my highest selling clip? I think people like to be scared. Think about a sensitive part of you just being sliced by a woman who doesn't care. Not even does she doesn't care. She likes it. She's gonna do it and she's gonna laugh at you. Oh, the pain you feel and the pleasure she feels. That's why I think it's the most popular. What would I say to somebody who is feeling shame around their kink? I get it. I've been there. I have tons of religious trauma and I used to feel so much shame about all of my kinks. And the best thing that I can say to you is just keep going. You are allowed to discover these parts of yourself as long as you're being safe, as long as the partner that you are with, you're both playing consensually. You can go to some dark, twisted places and you're gonna come back just fine. You're gonna come out of the scene and you're still gonna be you. You're still gonna be valuable. You're still gonna be person worthy of love and respect. So the more that you do it, the easier it's going to be to combat those shameful feelings. But they're gonna come up, they're gonna come up. So when they do come up, you have to combat them with a, no, I deserve to explore this part of myself. I am valid and right, and I deserve to explore my kinks. So you just tell that nasty little voice in your head that you've probably grown up with for a very long time telling you that you should be ashamed. You're gonna say, no, I don't feel ashamed. This is what makes me special and unique. And also, please forget about normal, because there really isn't any normal. That's not really a thing. If someone's telling you how normal they are, please question. This has been so enjoyable. And I'm so excited about this magazine. What a great idea.
Real kink for real people. Brought to you by Sunny Megatron and Clips for Sale.